Apologies for the last interruption. My phone went dead. But my last statement I was reading through my slides is that education and its high enrollment of women in relations to human trafficking, sex exploitation in Iran and Egypt resulted as an inconclusive finding. The reason why I said this is inconclusive finding is because I find it very hard to believe that women who are exiting out exams far forward than their own male counterparts, women who are enrolling in superseding their male counterparts will still engage in human trafficking, sex exploitation, and I find it very hard to believe that women who are very articulate and possess these levels of education wouldn't put forth effort or help efforts to curb human trafficking and sex exploitation in Iran and Egypt. My next slide is women in the political arena. In Iran, only 3.1% of women control seats in parliament, with the most diverse parliaments in the Middle East. Article 2 of the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights protects every person, human rights, without distinction of sex, gender. But Iran has ranked consecutively Tier 3 for the last 8 years in Human Trafficking in Person report and fails to comply with the minimum standards for Human Trafficking in Person report. 2% of women control seats within the Egyptian parliament. 7 women control seats in the Egyptian parliament when law number 64 was enacted, which prohibits all forms of human trafficking, which prescribes 3 to 15 years of imprisonment. Article 80 and 90 Egyptian approved a new referendum January 2014 explicitly prohibiting criminalized sex trafficking. And Egypt is a part of Resolution SRES/1325, a policy that urges all actors to enact peace and security efforts to protect women and children from gender-based violence, including human trafficking and sex exploitation. However, Egypt still ranks Tier 2 in the Human Trafficking Person report. Within the political arena, my argument was that if there were more participation and involvement of women, would the efforts to curb human trafficking improve? And because women hold so little seats within each parliament of Iran and Egypt, I wouldn't be able to know. And even with the women who did control seats within the Egyptian parliament, who enacted law number 64, there are still cases where human trafficking and sex exploitation of women and children are still thriving. Yes, they're in Tier 2, which is better than Tier 3, so they are in some way in compliance with the Human Trafficking in Person report. But however, the participation, if there was more women involvement, if there was more women who held seats within the political arena, I do think that agendas focusing on women and children would rise, and it would be more attentive, and people will pay more attention to the security of women and children. In conclusion, since women in Iran and Egypt do not have mass representation in decision-making bodies, including their political arena, then accepting a platform concerning gender issues, curbing human trafficking and sex exploitation would seem almost improbable. Where there is no strong constituency nor public opinion supporting such gender agendas and efforts to curb human trafficking and sex exploitation of women and children, then Iran and Egypt will remain ranking in Tier 3 and Tier 3 Human Trafficking in Person report. The variables I stated will remain lost in translation, and the reality of Iran and Egypt need to begin at changing both societies, starting from core values, a developed system of public accountability, and a popular demand for a transformative political agenda. In which, all in all, I'm trying to get, all in all, what I found through my findings was that if we address the issues starting at the core issues of gender equality, then a lot of the efforts to curb human trafficking and sex exploitation would succeed. If we focus more so on the socioeconomic boost of women within the communities, then the efforts to curb human trafficking would definitely, improve, because women would then have a voice within the community and within the political arena as well. If there were more representation within the political arena, then of course human trafficking and sex exploitation agendas will be paid attention to, taken more seriously, and more attentive. There would be more attentiveness towards these issues instead of ignored. Again, like I said, they have to be in a society where people are taking accountability and developing more different core values so that human trafficking and sex exploitation will not thrive, but it would decrease and soon be eliminated. Again, this is my conclusion of my project. Thank you again. Have a good evening.